Hi, and welcome to the inaugural podcast of Hope and Healing, sponsored by the Hardy Group Insurance of Fayetteville, North Carolina. And our guest today is from that company, Laura Hardy, and we'll introduce her in just a minute. I want to tell you a little bit about where I'm coming from. I work for the Child Advocacy Center here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And if you're not familiar with the Child Advocacy Center, let me just tell you briefly what they do. Child Advocacy Centers have been around probably going on 40 years, maybe a little bit more. Our Child Advocacy Center here has been here for 30 years this year. 2023 marks our 30th anniversary of being here in our community. And what our role is we're a place where children in our community come to share about physical and sexual abuse that they've experienced. And there's professionals that are on staff that talk with them, work with them, prepare them for court if that's necessary, etc. But I do want to take a moment and introduce my guest, Laura Hardy. She actually serves on our Child Advocacy Center board, and I'm just going to let her tell a little bit about herself.
Hi, thank you so much, and I appreciate having the opportunity to be here. Faith, I appreciate you for having this wonderful idea of spreading the information of what the Child Advocacy Center does. I am from this area. I grew up in Hope Mills, graduated from Southview, raised my family here out in the western part of the county, and just can't really say how important it is to have a safe place for children. I personally know how important that is. And when I was coming onto the board, initially introducing myself, that was one thing that I really felt like I could bring to the board, is a voice of someone that is a survivor and how important it is. So thank you for having me here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Laura, for being here. And just with what you said, mentioning that you are a survivor, meaning that you have lived experience of that, tell us a little bit more, if you don't mind, like, what is the value of having a voice? The theme that the CAC has come up with for this year, and we're going to carry it into 2024, is Be Their Voice. How important is it for us to be a voice for a child in our community?
Well, understanding that when you're a child, children already don't get hurt a lot of times because we figure, hey, they're kids. What do they know? If you have a child that has been in a situation like an abusive situation, it muffles them because it takes away their insecurity. It takes away their security. Mm-hmm. And the one thing I think that we underestimate is how much impact that we have. We have no idea how much impact. Again, I shared a story about a social worker. I was in New York. I was 10 years old. I never, ever forgot her. She was so caring, and she listened. She really heard what I said, and she was able to verbalize that and help bring healing to me in that situation, in a strange place as a little child going through this horrific situation. So it is important to give the child a place where they can voice themselves, and we as adults, it's our job to bring that around full circle and make sure that not only they are given what they need to heal, but also other children to prevent that from happening with them.
Right, yeah, it's so important. So last year at the Child Advocacy Center, and I'm going to say CAC just to shorten it a little bit, but at the CAC, we received 811 referrals of child abuse cases were referred to us. And 3% of that were military dependents that came through our center last year that were referred. Out of that, there were 54 sexual abuse cases, 42 that had physical, 17 that had neglect, and we had 9% that were other categories, and that could be drug endangerment, it could be human trafficking, those type things that add to that. The other thing to note with that is that even though I mentioned each type of abuse, a child may come in and they may have been referred because of sexual abuse, but maybe in their interview they begin to talk more a little bit about, maybe there was some neglect, or maybe there was some physical abuse too, or maybe there was some trafficking going on, and some other things may play out as well with that. One of the neat things that we have at our center is that we have therapy dogs that come to the center that provide that kind of that underneath support, because they come and they sit with the children in the waiting room as they're preparing to go back into the interview room with the forensic interviewer. So that's just a little bit about the CAC and what has happened this past fiscal year. Laura, tell us, you're on the board, and you've been on the board about 4 years, I think, now. So tell us a little bit about why being a board member, like when you were approached, why did you consider it, and then why did you join, and why are you still there?
Yes, when I was first approached, I wasn't very familiar with the center here. I wasn't familiar, but I was happy to learn that there was a place that children could go to and really be able to be assessed and get the services that they need. Once I came and I saw some of the people that served on the board, then I understood fully and understood the passion behind it, and why this CAC is really one of the top CACs in the country as far as involvement and really being there and making sure children are getting those services. So I was not going to say no. I was so happy to have the opportunity to be a part of something like that.
Right. And we're so glad you didn't say no. And I'm particularly tickled that you're here with me today with our first podcast that has ever happened with the Child Advocacy Center. So throughout the year, we have different emphasis based on the season that we're in. And in November, we have an emphasis where we do different things throughout the community. This year, we're calling it Harvest Awareness. And I want to tell you what HARVEST stands for in our acronym. HARVEST is helping, advocating, responding, investing, educating, sustaining, and training. All of those adjectives are things that we want to do that brings some hope and healing to children, to families, to non-offending caregivers that have experienced abuse, that are survivors, but maybe ones that have never told the story, that need to tell the story. And we want to be the people that they can come to, that we can invest in their lives, that we can provide this hope and healing. And then at the same time, we're educating our community about child abuse and what to look for. So one of the things that's my role is to go out into the community and educate and to share with the community about child abuse prevention, what it is, what it looks like, how to recognize it. So some of the trainings I just want to tell you about that we do offer. We have one that's called Stewards of Children, and that is about a 2.5-hour training that talks specifically about child sexual abuse. In it, you're going to learn the 5 tools on how to protect children, how to recognize it, how to respond, and how to react responsibly to that. Another one that we offer is called Chosen. It's a domestic minor sex trafficking documentary, and then we have a discussion following that. We also have done some internet safety classes, and we also do what's called protective factors, where there's 7 classes with that, and you go through that and you learn what those 5 protective factors are and how we can input those into our community. So we have a lot of things that we offer and we want to take out into the community. Another piece of my job is the volunteer aspect. And with that, the volunteers are some of the people that go out and lead these workshops. They may go out and take a community display. They may go out and speak about the Child Advocacy Center to a church or to a school or to a group of principals. We'll go anywhere and speak because we want the message to get out there and help people to understand the value of that. And then volunteers will make blankets. We call our blankets that come in comfort blankets. They're the no-sew fleece blankets that lots of people make around the community. And we just got 5 in today, actually, from a young girl that's in high school, I believe. And so we have people that make those blankets in our community that bring those in, and we give those to the children following their interview and let them know that somebody in this community made that blanket that believes in them and wants them to know that, and they can take that home. And that's I was about to say a tool. It's not a tool. It's a comfort item. It's something that they can hold on to, especially those kids that may get taken out of the home. So, Laura, just sitting here thinking about the Child Advocacy Center, what would be some things if you, like you said, you didn't know a lot about the CAC? What would be some things you think would be important for our audience to learn, to know, to understand what a CAC does or how they can connect to a CAC?
Well, one thing I think it's important to let people know that they're trained, individuals are trained. We have doctors, we have therapists that come in and they're trained to handle children in these specific circumstances. The dog was a good thing. That was something that I think it would surprise people to know. The blankets and the different things, just small details of things that are done that really would make a difference. And hopefully, no one that's listening does not have to go through, or children and their family don't have to go through. But if they do, that would give them some comfort in knowing that this organization actually cares enough to pay attention to those small details to make it better for a child.
Right, absolutely. A couple of things you said that kind of stirred something I thought we could branch off and tell a little bit more about is that we do have a doctor in town that works through STRAHEC, Southern Regional AHEC, across from the hospital. And her name is Dr. Danielle Thomas Taylor, and she does all the child medical exams, and we call them CMEs. The children go there and have those, and again, that's a place where she listens, she hears what they're saying, and also does that medical exam to see what can be found medically that could have happened. And then you also mentioned the dogs again, and I think it's important to note that the dogs just don't come because they're a dog. They actually have gone through training to be a therapy dog. And there's a couple of different therapy dog agencies, I guess, that work with those dog handlers that get them trained and get them certified so that they can come in and work with the children. And honestly, those dogs sometimes are therapy for us in the office. It's just pretty significant. One story I want to share with you, and this goes back many years, but several years ago, one of our victim advocates told us that a therapy dog, and this was way back when we started it, probably 13, 14 years ago now, said that a therapy dog and a handler came in, and it was the whole family came, so there's several children. That therapy dog went and sat beside the actual child that had been abused. Wow. As if the dog sensed what was going on and knew what was who needed him the most or her the most. I don't know if it was a girl or boy, but that was pretty special and pretty significant to think how that dog picked up on that and knew about that. Some other things that could happen if someone is interested, if you're listening and you're like, oh, I want to plug in, I want to do something. There are all kinds of volunteer opportunities. You can apply to be a volunteer. You do come in and do a volunteer interview. You go through a background check. But we also have groups that do projects for us, like the blankets is one. We also have people that will collect items for us. So that could be gift cards to restaurants. It could be gas gift cards. It could be grocery stores. It could be Post-it notes. It could be toilet paper. There's just a whole list that I have that people can collect. And we've had some people take it as far as to do a competition. So like in a high school, they may have a competition between the grades to see who can collect the most, and then maybe have an ice cream party or a pizza party at the end with that group. So there's all kinds of ways to figure that out as well. But as I wrap up, I want to just put in your head the thought, what can I do as a member of my community to protect children from being abused? And if you know what you can do, that's great. But if you're sitting there thinking, I just really don't know that I can do anything, I would love for you to call me at the Child Advocacy Center and talk with me. And that number is 910-486-9700. But I'd love to talk to you and just kind of help you see there are so many ways that you could partner with us. You could be on a fundraising committee. You could do one of these collections for us, just so many things that you could do to be a part of us. So would love to connect with you if you would be interested in that. You can also visit our website, and that's www.CACFayNC.org to get more information as well. Laura, it's been great again to have you here, but what would be your last thoughts that you'd want to share today as we wrap up?
I would say, and thank you so much again for having me. I really appreciate that. Get involved, get involved, be involved. And no matter what level, no matter if you just have a little bit of time, no matter if you have a little bit of resources, it will all make a difference to a child.
Absolutely. Yeah, being involved, being connected. We all see children. Some have children, but we all see a child at some point. So being involved, knowing what to look for, knowing what signs are out there when it comes to child abuse in general, but even with human trafficking or internet safety. Internet is a big thing, just growing and growing. So there's so many things that we need to be aware of there as well. But thank you for joining me. Again, my name is Faith Boehmer, and I'm the Prevention and Volunteer Coordinator at the Child Advocacy Center here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And we look forward to being back with you with another podcast with Hope and Healing.